I tied my father to a tree and beat him for 7 days straight. On the 7th night, he finally gave in and told me the truth. He said our family had a secret system, passed down for 100 generations. All the money on earth combined, he said, was still less than ours. I could not believe a single word. My mother sat nearby, calm as ever. Don't be so surprised, she said. Is my grandfather still alive? I asked. Yes, my father said, but he left Earth a long time ago. My mother nodded. We cannot sense him anymore, she said quietly. That is impossible, I said. There was no planet outside Earth where humans could survive. My mother did not look surprised by my reaction at all. Our family is not normal, she said, opening her arms wide. We do not age. We live for hundreds of years, some of us over 1,000, and the power we carry is beyond anything you know. My father then brought out something strange, a syringe, glowing bright blue. Once this enters your body, you will understand everything, he said, holding out a small case. And every piece of the family's property is now under your name. I looked around our tiny broken house. What property? He pulled out a small black card. With this, you get VIP treatment anywhere in the world, he said. Check the balance if you don't believe me. He held it out and I took it. I opened my banking app right away. I counted the zeros on the screen. 8 of them? This had to be fake. How much money does this family actually have? I asked. They looked at each other. We are not sure, my father said, but no one in this world has more than us. We sat in our small, messy living room, and nothing felt the same anymore. I could not think anymore. It reminded me of something I once saw online. A rich kid who said he never cared if his friends had money because no one could ever have more than him. My parents stood together by the gate. Their calm faces made everything feel more real. Someday you will be like us, my father said, no longer tied to the rules of this world. My mother pointed at the sky. When Earth gets boring, fly out and find us. I opened my mouth to respond, but my father already had the syringe in his hand. He pushed the needle into my arm without a word. I felt a sharp sting. Then I could not feel anything at all. I collapsed and hit the ground. Through blurry eyes, I saw my parents standing together, bright light growing behind them. When I opened my eyes again, I was somewhere else. Blue light everywhere. Words appeared in front of me. Tycoon system. Unlocking all wealth. Energy rushed through every part of my body like a wave. Then I woke up. I was back in my bed, heart pounding. Was all of that just a dream? No. I remembered every word. The money, the power. A grandfather lost somewhere beyond the sky. It was already morning. I jumped out of bed to find my parents. I ran through every room in the house calling for them. Their bedroom was empty. The bed had not been touched. Then a glowing blue screen lit up the room. There is no need to search, a voice said. The 99th host has already left to find the 98th. So this was real. The family system my parents told me about was floating right in front of me. I held my breath. Once your authority reaches a high enough level, the system said, you can leave this planet and find them. Then it showed me the missions they left behind. Spend money. Show off. I stared at the screen. That was the whole plan? My ex-girlfriend left me because I had nothing. With this kind of money, that would never happen again. The first mission appeared. Let the entire world know I was the richest man alive. Deadline 1 year. Let the world know I am rich. I had no idea where to begin. Spend the money. That much was clear. But on what? A car? A house? Those were the first ideas that came to me. I had been a regular person my whole life. I did not know how to spend big. Just thinking about it gave me a headache. The system appeared again. Beginner mission. Spend 10 million on a live stream platform. Reward. Your body becomes twice as strong. 10 million? I jumped to my feet. I had never even seen that much money before. The biggest amount I ever touched in my life was my college fee. But 10 million was only a tenth of what the black card held. I stood at the window and stared out at the city. The system wanted me to go out and spend. 10 million is nothing, the system said. Our businesses earn 20 million every second. Golden numbers filled the air around me, rising faster than I could count. This system had no shame at all. What is your dream car? It asked. The Apollo Sun God, I said without thinking. A golden hologram of the car appeared in the middle of my room. 5 minutes later, my phone rang. I picked up. A voice I did not recognize. Is this Mr. Chen? We have built a custom sports car just for you, the man said. We are calling to arrange the delivery. I froze. I never placed an order. I only said the name out loud. Did the system order it for me? How was that even possible? How did the system do that? I sat on my bed and stared at my phone. The man was still talking. Custom design, smart controls, the best of everything. His voice came through the speaker, calm and professional. We will deliver it in 2 weeks, he said. Just contact me when it is ready, I told him. It is our honor to serve you, he replied. I still felt like I was dreaming, but something did not add up. Cars like this usually take 6 months or a year to build. So why was mine ready in just 2 weeks? The system answered. I own 70% of every major sports car company. 90% of their profits came back to me. Who would dare make you wait? The system said. I froze. Was I really the boss of all those car companies? Ferrari, Rolls-Royce. The system kept listing names. Aston Martin, Pagani. All of them were mine, and together they did not even reach 1% of my total wealth. I finally understood how rich my family really was. My brain shut down. It was too much to take in at once. But then it became simple. 10 million was nothing to me. If the money would never run out, then I would spend without fear. I grabbed my phone from the desk, opened the livestream app and pressed confirm on the top up. 5 million went in. The screen glowed gold. Somewhere online, a viewer saw the notification and stopped what he was doing. He grabbed his mouse and started searching. He wanted to know who just dropped 5 million. A 2-year-old account. Almost no spending history. He scratched his head. Meanwhile, I sat in my room with a quiet grin. Online, people were calling me a fool. Some said I stole company money to look rich. I read every comment and smiled. But even so, my hands were still shaking. Part of me still could not believe what I had just done. I leaned forward and covered my face. 5 million. Gone in one tap. But I looked up again. This was only the first step. You will get used to it, the system said. I held my head and sighed. Everything had changed too fast. But it was summer break, and I had nowhere to be. Out of habit, I clicked into a gaming stream. It was my favorite streamer. People called him Teacher Pooh. He did comedy gaming content. I had watched him for months. Before tonight, the most I ever gave him was a few free gifts. That was about to change. I sent nearly 1,000 panda gifts at once, 500,000 worth. I crossed my arms and leaned back. Spending money felt less scary now. On his stream, Teacher Pooh nearly jumped out of his seat. The chat was moving so fast it was just a wall of color. Viewers were losing their minds. Where did this rich person come from? I sat with my hands together and watched the chaos. This was better than any game. On the other side of the screen, Teacher Pooh pulled himself back into his chair. His stream had big spenders before, but never anything close to this. He stared at the number on his screen. It did not seem real. Thank you, boss, he shouted into the mic. 1,000 pandas. That is insane. Let me make you a room moderator right now, he said. We can play some games together. Add me on chat, brother, he said with a wide grin. A moment later, the moderator badge appeared on my account. I sent him my contact without thinking twice. The message went through. Maybe I will visit your city and buy you dinner sometime, I typed. But for now, I wanted to check other rooms. I opened another stream and sent 1,000 more pandas. I leaned back and rested my chin on my hand. The fear of spending was gone. I checked my follow list. One more streamer was online. A girl named Sinyu. She played piano and sang every night. There she was, sitting at her grand piano. Warm light came through the window behind her. I closed my eyes and listened. Her voice made everything else disappear. But the chat in her room was anything but quiet. It was not because of her own fans. The crowd had followed me in. Everyone wanted to see the big spender. They all wondered the same thing. Would I do it again? They did not have to wait long. Her viewer count hit 100,000. I could not help but grin. I reached for my phone without a word. Another 1,000 pandas. Sinyu stopped mid-note. Her hands flew to her mouth. She grabbed a calculator. 500 per gift. 1,000 gifts. 500,000 total. Her share was 250,000. She pressed her hands together and smiled. She felt like the luckiest person alive. But then she looked at the username. Her smile faded. Her stream only had about 2,000 viewers each day. And this name appeared every single night. The quiet viewer who never spent anything. She sat back in her chair. This was the person who had always been there. She could not find the right words. All she managed was thank you again and again. The comments below kept pouring in. The chat would not slow down. This streamer is about to get famous, someone wrote. Sinyu read every word. She held her hands to her chest. Her heart was still racing. Then one message on the screen stopped her. It hit somewhere deep. She struggled to keep her face still. Her eyes filled with tears. I had typed it myself. I do not know what is happening in your life, but I have watched you for a long time, and I can tell you are not very happy. On her side of the screen, Sinyu bent forward. She could barely hold it together. I hope your singing and your piano help you feel happy soon, the message said. The chat exploded again. He is not just rich, someone wrote. He actually has a heart. Sinyu wiped her eyes with the back of her hand and tried to breathe. Is there a song you want to hear? She asked softly. I typed the name of my favorite English song and pressed send. Her fingers found the keys and she began to play. When the last note faded, I tapped the screen one more time. Another 1,000 pandas. The chat went wild all over again. After that, I kept going. One stream to the next, spending as I pleased. Big or small, it did not matter. Every streamer I liked got at least 99 pandas. The whole afternoon passed just like that. 10 million. All of it spent on streaming in a single afternoon. The system spending task was finally done. I should have felt something, but I was just numb. The phone glowed under my hand like it had a life of its own. Somewhere on that platform, a legend had just been born. A mystery user who dropped 10 million in 3 hours. That was me. Then without warning, a bolt of electricity shot through my entire body. It burned through every muscle and every bone. 5 minutes I could not move. The system spoke. Congratulations, 100th host. Your body is now twice as strong as before. I opened and closed my hands. Same hands. Completely different feeling. What was that just now? I asked. A golden circle appeared. Energy saved by the 99th host, the system replied. A lifetime of stored power. Enough to change you from a normal person into something far beyond human. But your father gave orders. This power must come to you slowly, through task rewards. Giving it all at once would be bad for your growth, the system warned. That made sense. Quick power only helps in the short term. I closed my fist. Even this small boost felt incredible. The rest would come later, when my level was high enough. One more thing, the system said. I have arranged a butler for you. A man the previous host once helped. He is standing at your door right now. I reached for the handle and pulled the door open. An old man rushed in. He was so excited he could barely get his words out. You must be young Master Chen, he said, eyes wide. I brought my granddaughter today to help transfer your assets, he said. I shook his hand. Please, come in. To be honest, I only learned yesterday how much our family actually owns, I told him. We sat down together with tea. His granddaughter waited quietly beside him. Mr. Zhuang, you need to explain everything to me, I said. Just call me old Zhuang, he replied. His son ran my companies. His granddaughter Zhuang Ying would be my personal assistant. She can help you with anything you need, he promised. But I am just a college student, I said. What do I need an assistant for? Old Zhuang smiled. You cannot handle every business matter by yourself. Besides, he added, she already has a master's degree from Oxford. She looked at me and smiled. Oxford, business management. Not bad. He had a point. I knew almost nothing about my own money. If I ran out of cash tomorrow, I would not even know where to find more. Zhuang Ying could fix that. I agreed. Having her around was the smart choice. Once everything was settled, old Zhuang said goodbye and left. I stepped onto the balcony and leaned over the railing. His car was a Rolls-Royce. A driver stood by the open door. The golden figure on the hood caught the sunlight and nearly blinded me. A Rolls-Royce, a private driver, a formal suit. This old man was clearly very wealthy, and someone like that was just a manager for my family. Not even the main one. He handled only a small part of my grandfather's fortune. After he left, Zhuang Ying and I sat together in silence for a while. She watched me carefully, already learning what kind of person I was, but a man and a woman alone in a tiny room was a little awkward. She was the one who broke the silence. "Why not move somewhere new?" she asked. "This place is far too small for you." I looked around at the old walls and the tiny bed. She was right. "You own property in almost every major city," she said. "Where would you like to live?" My eyes went wide. I leaned back in my chair. Even the richest person in the country might not own this much. The more I learned about my family, the less I understood. "Near Jiangnan University," I said. "I will be studying there soon." Zhuang Ying pulled a tablet from her bag without missing a beat. Her fingers moved fast across the screen. Results filled the page in seconds. Dozens of listings. I leaned in for a look. Housing areas, neighborhoods, all near the university. She pointed at one of them. "Found one," she said. "About 3.5 kilometers from Jiangnan University, a private villa area. Designed by a European architect." I took a sip of water as she continued. "Over 1,600 square meters. Total value, 280 million. I choked so hard I bent over the table. 280 million for a single house. That is 180,000 per square meter?" I said. Zhuang Ying smiled. She was clearly enjoying my shock. "If you want to see it, I can take you there right now," she offered. "Let's go. Right now." I did not need to think about it. I looked around the room one last time. There was only one thing I wanted to take. A photo. My parents and me. The three of us, smiling together. I held it in my hand and walked toward the door. At the doorway, I turned back. My chest felt empty. 20 years in this place. And just like that, I was leaving it behind. Zhuang Ying noticed right away. "I will send someone to clean this place regularly," she said gently. "You can come back anytime." I nodded. I did not trust my voice right then. She gave a deep bow, then led the way out. We headed downstairs together. Side by side, we walked toward the parking area. When Zhuang Ying spotted the Porsche parked outside, she froze. "You actually drive this thing?" she asked. She looked at my Porsche the way someone looks at trash. When my father first told me about the family, I thought this car was rented. But from the look in her eyes, even owning it was embarrassing. "I already ordered a custom sports car for you," she said. "It arrives in 2 weeks. No need for a driver either," I said. "People used to call me the Road King." She just stared at me. The second those words left my mouth, I regretted them. I had barely driven in my life. But as I sat behind the wheel, I remembered. My body had just been doubled. My grip on the wheel felt steady and sure. My eyes were sharp. My reactions were faster than ever. A simple drive to Jiangnan, nothing to worry about. I pulled out of the lot smooth and clean, like I had done it 1,000 times. "If you get tired, just let me take over," Zhuang Ying said from beside me. Then her voice went quiet. "My grandfather's whole family owes their lives to yours," she said. "Without your grandfather, I would not be here today." She kept talking as I drove. Her voice was calm, but the words were heavy. "Even if we got hit by a car and died on this road," she said, "we would only be returning the lives your family gave us." "Is it really that serious?" I asked. What kind of man was my grandfather? What did he do to make an entire family this loyal? Zhuang Ying did not answer. She just looked ahead quietly. I shifted gears and pressed down on the gas. The sky ahead was wide open and clear. It felt like from today forward, every single day would bring something new. Before long, we arrived. The sign at the gate read Jiangnan Villa. As a student at Jiangnan University, I had heard of this place. My roommates used to talk about it. The cheapest houses here were 80,000 per square meter. We stepped out and walked toward the main building. The smallest villa was 200 square meters. That kind of price was something I never even dared to think about before. Most people could work their whole lives and never earn that much. The lobby inside looked like a 5-star hotel, and now I own the biggest villa in the entire complex. Zhuang Ying walked me through the service center. "It is more like a high-end cafe," she said. "Everything here is free for owners." A young woman sat behind the front desk and smiled when she saw us. "Hello, my name is Xiao Wen. How may I help you?" she asked. Zhuang Ying stepped forward. "Hello, I am Mr. Chen's private assistant. We are here to collect the keys to his villa number 1, she said. The pen on the counter almost rolled off as Xiao Wen froze. Her eyes went wide. Villa number 1. That villa had been sold years ago, but nobody had ever moved in. Her boss had told the staff about the owner, but she had never expected to meet him. She quickly put on a sweet smile. "Of course, we just need to finish some paperwork first. Please show us the owner's ID and property deed," she said. Her eyes moved from me to Zhuang Ying and back again. I could tell what she was thinking. She was trying to figure out which one of us was the owner. Her gaze stopped on me for a second. Then she looked away. In her mind, I was too young. The real owner had to be someone older. She probably imagined some rich middle-aged businessman. Zhuang Ying turned to me. "Find the property deed. It should have been delivered already." Xiao Wen picked up the phone and called to check. It had arrived an hour ago, but it was sent as a sealed package, and nobody at the service center dared to open an owner's delivery. The package sat on the counter, black, with a red wax seal. Another staff member brought it over and held it out carefully. "We also need the owner's ID," Xiao Wen said. I reached into my bag. I pulled out my ID card and placed it on the counter. Zhuang Ying had no reason to carry it for me. This was something only I could do. The moment Zhuang Ying said the words young master, every girl behind the counter changed her face. They had already decided I was too young to be the owner. Now they knew they were wrong. Once the paperwork was done, we were taken to a private lounge. A bar lined the wall behind us. Zhuang Ying stood beside me with a small smile. "Welcome to the VVVIP room," she said. Then she leaned in close. "Young Master Chen, I promise you," she said. "Any one of those girls at the front desk would be happy to come warm your bed tonight. Want me to arrange it?" I had been with my ex-girlfriend for 2.5 years, but I had never done anything more than hold hands. I was still completely innocent. That kind of teasing hit me right in the face. Zhuang Ying watched me with a warm smile. She covered her mouth and laughed quietly, clearly enjoying my reaction. My face was burning. She kept going. "With your status," she said, "you will meet thousands of beautiful women. Thousands." The number alone made my head spin. "You need to change your mindset soon," she added, "otherwise you will suffer later." I could not keep letting her tease me like this, so I leaned forward and said, "Forget the other girls. If someone is going to warm my bed, why not come yourself?" Zhuang Ying's smile disappeared. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. Her cheeks turned red in a second. The words she was about to say stayed stuck in her throat. I leaned back on the couch and laughed. Finally, I won one. 5 minutes later, a man in a black suit rushed in and bowed deeply. "I am Wang Zhihai, the property manager. Please contact me for anything you need." He held out his business card with both hands, but Zhuang Ying stepped between us. "Not everyone gets to speak to my young master," she said coldly. "We drove a long way. He needs rest. Young Master Chen needs quiet now," she said, and the room felt 10 degrees colder. Wang Zhihai understood at once. He had been too eager. I probably looked friendly enough sitting there, relaxed and smiling, but Zhuang Ying was not the kind of person who lets strangers get close. "Please take my car to the villa," he offered, bowing again. "It is still some distance away." Zhuang Ying shook her head. "No need. We will drive ourselves. You go ahead and lead the way." I stood up and straightened my jacket. "Time to see this place." Wang Zhihai looked a little sad, but he had no choice. "Please follow me," he said, and walked ahead. As a property manager, his company car was not cheap. It was a Maybach, around 3 million yuan. But when he saw what I was driving in the parking garage, his face went confused. For someone who owned Villa number 1, a Porsche felt too simple. I looked at my Porsche and thought the same thing. Zhuang Ying was right to order a new car. The two cars drove into the neighborhood, one in front of the other. There was only one private road that led to Villa number 1. It even had its own guard. And then I saw it. The villa stood behind a fountain, lit up like a small city. I thought I was ready. I was not. My hands gripped the wheel tighter. This was not a house. It was not even a mansion. Calling it a palace would not be wrong. I parked the car and could not stop staring. Zhuang Ying stood beside me with a knowing smile. She could tell I wanted to go inside right now. Wang Zhihai handed the keys and documents to Zhuang Ying. Then he bowed one last time and walked away into the night. Once he was gone, I turned to Zhuang Ying. "Why were you so cold to him?" She placed her hand on the front door and her voice turned serious. "People like him only talk to you because you have money." I saw greed in his eyes, she said. "That kind of person does not deserve your time." I nodded slowly. Something about her words made sense in a way I had not felt before. There were things about this world I still needed to learn, but at least I was not learning alone. We walked inside. The first thing I saw was a crystal chandelier the size of a small room. The floor tiles were so clean and bright that I was almost afraid to step on them. "These tiles are custom-made," Zhuang Ying explained. "Each one has a layer of crystal on top. Each tile costs about 5,000 yuan," she said, as if that was normal. 5,000 per tile. That meant over 30,000 per square meter, just for the floor. Even apartments in the city center did not cost that much, and this was just the floor. Zhuang Ying stopped beside a blue and white vase near the entrance. "This was passed down from your ancestors," she said. "At today's prices, each one is worth at least 12 million yuan. I stared at the vase. My legs gave out. I dropped to the floor on my hands and knees. The hall stretched out around me like a private museum. Paintings lined every wall. Sculptures sat behind glass. How rich were my ancestors? They had left priceless antiques sitting by the front door like cheap decorations. I pressed my hands to my chest. "It is not just the entrance," Zhuang Ying said, pointing deeper inside. I ran across the hall and froze. Hanging in a golden frame was Starry Night, the real one, by Van Gogh. In the bottom left corner, written in gold paint, was one word, Vincent. My eyes went wide. There was no way this was real. Below the name, a line in Dutch, "Thanks to my Chinese friend," signed by Vincent van Gogh himself. Van Gogh gave this painting to my ancestor as a gift. I pressed my hand to my forehead and tried to breathe, but there was nothing left to feel. I was completely numb. Then a blue light appeared beside me. The system had a message. My ancestor from the 91st generation had helped Van Gogh during his poorest years, and this painting was now worth around $600 million. My hand slid down the marble pillar. I sat on the floor and stared at the air. 600 million. For one painting on a wall. Zhuang Ying smiled softly. "Now you finally understand the old saying," she said. "Being poor had limited everything I could imagine." I sat against a pillar with Starry Night glowing behind me and had nothing to say. "All of this is just the outer hall," she said, waving toward a doorway. "The real collection is in the study." I fell flat on the floor and covered my face. She kept talking. "A violin once owned by Paganini, a piano that Chopin had played." I looked up at the ceiling with empty eyes. I had no energy left to react. Zhuang Ying stood in the doorway with a calm smile. She had one more thing to tell me. I was still lying on the floor when her next words nearly made me pass out. "Where would you like to sleep tonight?" she asked. She walked to the window and pointed outside at the villas glowing in the dark. All 20 of those belong to you. I pushed myself up. I will just pick an empty one. She nodded. Call me anytime if you need anything. I lay back down on the floor. My brain needed a break. Wait, I said, pulling myself up again. This whole area is not all mine, is it? The small villas under 300 square meters are not yours, she said calmly. Those are low-quality houses. 300 square meters was low quality. I could feel my face twitching. She covered her mouth and smiled. The bigger houses are for your personal service team, she said. Cleaners, doctors, and other staff. Over 200 people in total. Then she turned and walked away. I sat down on the couch and watched her go. Once she was gone, I slapped myself hard across the face. The sting burned through my cheek, sharp and very real. I was not dreaming. This grand hall, these paintings, these billion-dollar antiques, all mine. Then my stomach growled. All this wealth, and I had not eaten in hours. My eyes landed on the coffee table. A satellite phone sat right there. I leaned forward and picked it up. The head chef's number was already saved inside. I dialed it without thinking. Could you make me something to eat? I asked. Young master, hello, a voice answered warmly. What would you like to eat? We can make anything you want, he continued. I smiled. These chefs like to talk big. I decided to test him. What if I want golden tuna? I asked. Can you get that for me? The pause on the other end made me sit up. They might actually be able to do it. We have 10 private jets, the chef explained. Every week they fly around the world to collect the freshest ingredients. Just yesterday, we put fresh golden tuna in the freezer, he added. I let my head drop. I will prepare it for you right away, young master, he said. I tilted my head back and closed my eyes. Money really could do anything. 10 private jets used as grocery delivery planes. I stood up and put my hands on my hips. Was there anything more extreme than this? Probably. In this house, probably yes. I was only joking, I said quickly into the phone. Just make me a bowl of noodles. Add some seafood and vegetables. Nothing too fancy, I said, sitting down. 20 minutes, the voice replied. Someone will bring it to your door. I hung up and sank back into the couch. This life was going to take some getting used to. While I waited, I took a bath. The water felt different, almost like a natural hot spring. Even that felt too good to be normal. Right after I stepped out, a knock came. A young man in a vest stood in the hallway with a steaming bowl. The noodles looked simple enough. Warm broth, fresh greens, a few pieces of meat. I opened the door, still half-dressed from my bath. He did not even blink. He held out the tray with a polite nod. The head chef's son, apparently, young but sharp. I said thanks and took the food container from him. Then I carried it back to my room. I set it on the table and lifted the lid. A cloud of steam rose up. The bowl inside was the size of a small basin. Sitting on top of the noodles was a whole king crab, bright red and overflowing with broth. I sat down and grabbed my chopsticks. So much for nothing too fancy. But I was too hungry to complain. Every bite was better than the last. Once the noodles were gone, I cracked open the crab legs one by one. When I finished, I picked up a crab claw and used it to clean my teeth. A rich man's toothpick. After eating, I walked into the bedroom. A large curved monitor sat by the window, the city lights glowing behind it. I checked the specs. The graphics card was an 8090, not even available to the public yet. I pressed the power button. The screen lit up in less than 1 second. Every night before bed, I had a small habit. I would open the live stream of a girl named Singyu and listen to her sing. So I clicked into her channel without thinking twice. Her page showed over 1 million followers now. She had gone from 50,000 to this in just a few days. That kind of jump does not happen on its own. It was because of my donations. The moment I joined, a giant welcome banner filled the screen. Welcome, Boss Lu. The chat exploded. Messages flooded by so fast I could not read a single one. Fans were saying they knew I would show up tonight. They had been waiting all evening. I leaned back in my chair and watched the screen. It felt strange being famous in someone else's chat room. Sangyu ignored the noise and looked straight into the camera. What song do you want to hear, big spender, she asked. Sing whatever you like, I typed. Then I closed my eyes and let the music fill the room. Her voice was soft and steady, and somewhere in the middle of a slow song, a thought came to me that made my face warm. What kind of person was Enyu in real life? I leaned back and wondered. Before I could stop myself, I sent her a private message. Within minutes, we had added each other on WeChat. I sent a quick hello. Her reply came fast. Do not get any bad ideas, she wrote. I stared at the screen. I snapped my fingers. She was interesting. After that, I kept listening to her sing. At some point during a quiet song, I fell asleep right in the chair. When I opened my eyes, the sun was already high. It was noon the next day. I walked down the hallway in a bathrobe and told the head chef I would eat outside today. Then I checked my phone and froze. After adding Singyu last night, I had fallen asleep without saying a word. I opened her chat. My last message was still just that hello from the night before. I typed fast. Sorry. I was moving yesterday and fell asleep while listening to your songs. Her reply came back in seconds. I raised an eyebrow. No worries, she wrote. I know rich people like you are always busy. I smiled at the screen. Then I wrote back and told her I had just moved to Jiangnan City. I walked through the hallway while Sinyu's messages kept coming in. I stepped outside into the garden, phone in hand. My school was nearby, I told her. I planned to stay here for a while. Her reply came fast. She could not believe I was still a student. Her voice message played. I thought you were at least 40 or 50 years old, she said. I smiled. I told her I was only 20, still in my last year of university. I typed the name of my school, Jiangnan University. Her next voice message was long. She said she was also at Jiangnan University, studying music. I stopped walking. Same city, same school. That was a real surprise. She also mentioned that her fans had been guessing who I was all night. Some said I was a spoiled rich kid who never studied. Others said I was a company boss. None of them even came close. I smiled at that. I rolled my eyes. Who says a rich kid has to be stupid? I was a top student, thank you. I leaned against the wall and typed back. I was a well-rounded, excellent college student. Her reply came. She said I must be from a powerful family to spend that much on a live stream. I grinned. Something like that, I said, and stop calling me big spender. Just call me Ah Chen, I told her as I walked down the hall. Then she sent a longer message. She thanked me. My donations had helped her father in the hospital. Her dad needed money for treatment, and the timing was perfect. She wanted to buy me a meal someday. I looked out the window. Just don't pick somewhere too bad, I said. I laughed to myself. Honestly, if she picked somewhere too fancy, I might feel more awkward than her. I told her the truth. 2 days ago, I did not even know I was rich. She sent back a cartoon sticker. A dog face that said, "You expect me to believe that?" She clearly did not believe a single word. I found that funny. I looked up at the sky and sent another message. Imagine your parents suddenly told you they were rich. But my parents were not just regular rich, they were beyond anything Xing Yu could guess. And right now they were somewhere out in the world. Nobody even knew where. Then a text from Zhuang Ying came in. She said I needed proper clothes. She was right. Everything I was wearing added up to less than 1,000 yuan. I thought about just walking into a mall and picking something decent. But Zhuang Ying told me I had a private factory that made custom clothes just for me and my staff. A tailor would come to the house this afternoon to take my measurements. I put the car in gear. The car pulled out of the estate. I drove through the streets with the window down, feeling good. A few minutes later, the road opened up toward campus, Jiangnan University. Still summer break, so the campus was almost empty. I parked easily and stepped out. Only the grad students were still around. The moment I closed the door, I heard a familiar voice behind me. It was Chen Kai, my roommate. He was holding a stack of books and staring at me with his mouth open. "Did you get taller?" he asked, looking me up and down. "I almost did not recognize you." "Get lost," I said, grinning. "I am still growing. Did you not know that?" "Why did you not go home for break?" I asked. He shrugged. "My family wants me to study for the graduate exam, so here I am." I told him I had just moved to Jiangnan City. I leaned against the car and spread my arms. Chen Kai pushed his glasses up. "You have been hiding this the whole time," he said. He leaned on the car roof. "Property here is over 60,000 per square meter. One apartment costs half a lifetime of work." I threw my head back and laughed. My dad just told me 2 days ago that I am a rich second generation. I put my arm around his shoulder. "Lunch is on me, let us go to the Butler restaurant near campus." His face went stiff. "That place? The minimum is over 300 per person." We walked toward the restaurant. Chen Kai was still in shock. "I am paying," I said, pushing him forward. "Just walk. If I was going to spend money, it should be at a place worth eating." Right as we reached the entrance, Chen Kai's face changed. 2 people were walking out. One of them was my ex-girlfriend, Jiang Yuan. She was holding the arm of a tall, muscular man, Jiang Yuan. She looked at me and smiled like I was something she stepped on. The man beside her was Wang Xuan, her new boyfriend. For a second, nobody moved. The 4 of us just stood there. Chen Kai let out a cold laugh. He knew the full story. How good I had been to Jiang Yuan. Nobody knew that better than Chen Kai. Every week, I would prepare a small surprise for her. Gifts, letters, plans. I even saved up for months to buy an electric scooter so I could drive her to class. And now here she was, arm in arm with someone else, right in front of me. A waiter walked up inside the restaurant. "How many guests?" he asked. "2, I said, holding up a finger. I was not going to let her ruin my lunch. We sat down by the window. Chen Kai leaned on his hand and started chatting. "Where did you move to?" he asked. "Maybe I will come visit sometime." "Jiangnan Villas," I said. "If the school dorm is too boring, just move in. I have plenty of rooms." Chen Kai froze with a fork halfway to his mouth. "Plenty of rooms?" I shrugged. "They are just sitting there empty." He did not seem to know that Jiangnan Villas only sold high-end houses. He just nodded and went quiet. But from across the restaurant, Wang Xuan's voice carried over. "Talking big will get you in trouble," he said. As Jiang Yuan's current boyfriend, he was already full of hate toward me. I looked straight at him. He wanted to fight. I could see it in his eyes. He had heard the name Jiangnan Villas. He wore a gold watch and knew exactly what that neighborhood cost. His own family lived near there. He knew the cheapest villa started at almost 20 million yuan. He smiled like he had already won. Then he raised his voice so the whole restaurant could hear. "I thought your ex was just poor," Jiang Yuan said with a sweet smile. "Turns out he is a liar too," she added. Chen Kai's face went dark. The other guests turned to look. Some of them recognized the neighborhood name and laughed. They looked at my cheap shirt and shook their heads. In their eyes, I did not belong. I took a slow sip of water. None of this bothered me anymore. After everything I had seen in the last 2 days, a few laughs from strangers meant nothing. Then Wang Xuan spoke again. "He has always been like this," he said. Jiang Yuan pointed at me, showing off with nothing to show. "That is all he does." I gave everything I had for this woman, and this was how she remembered me. She crossed her arms and looked at me like I was dirt. Fine. Something flickered in my vision. The system activated. A new task appeared. Shut these 2 up. Reward. Something my ancestors threw away. I leaned back and smiled. My ancestors' trash was probably worth more than this whole building. I had learned that much over the past 2 days. What they did not want was still beyond anything normal people could imagine. I stood up from my chair and faced the room. "Everyone in this restaurant is nothing to me," I said. My voice was calm and clear. Wang Xuan spread his arms wide. "1 toe of mine is worth more than all of you," he shouted back. I tilted my head and looked at him. That was the funniest thing I had heard all day. Wang Xuan snapped. He rushed toward me and grabbed my collar with both hands. He thought a poor kid from an ordinary family had no right to talk to him like that. But when I caught his hand, something changed. I squeezed, and his grip broke instantly. His eyes went wide, all that muscle, and he felt like a small child in front of me. My body had been doubled in strength by the system. I held his hand without even trying hard. This was the new me. Pain spread across Wang Xuan's face, but his pride would not let him scream. He held it in. Wang Xuan dropped to one knee but refused to make a sound. Then Chen Kai rushed between us and pulled us apart with both hands. I gave Wang Xuan one light push. He went flying back into the booth. I straightened my collar. It had gotten a little wrinkled. Wang Xuan sat there glaring at me with pure hate in his eyes. I looked back at him and let the corner of my mouth lift. Zhang Yuan really knew how to pick them. 2 security guards marched over, and there was Zhang Yuan already pointing at us, playing the victim. The restaurant manager stepped forward. Her name tag said bye. Her face said trouble. A place like this rarely saw fights. If someone started one here, the staff took it seriously. None of that worried me. Not even a little. I pulled out my phone and made a call. Wang Xuan watched from across the room. He had no idea what was coming. I am at a restaurant near school, I said. My ex and her boyfriend are here. They are making fun of me for being poor. Young master, please wait 2 minutes, the voice replied. I will handle this right now. I hung up and smiled. He had also reminded me about the black card my father gave me. Anyone with good eyes would recognize that card and treat me like royalty. I set my phone down on the table and waited. Wang Xuan muttered under his breath. All he does is pretend. Security will throw him out any second. A suited man from the restaurant stood near us. Chen Kai held his ground beside me. I pointed casually at manager Bai. You will get a phone call soon. Just wait. She looked confused. Who on earth would be calling her because of this? Less than 2 minutes later, her phone lit up. She answered it right there. The caller was the owner of this entire chain. Her eyes went wide. Whatever the owner was saying, it hit hard. Do not offend that young man, the owner told her. Whatever he wants, you give it to him. Chen Kai sat calmly holding his cup, not worried at all. Manager Bai's hands were shaking. This restaurant brand had branches in dozens of countries. It was no small business, and one phone call from me had the owner personally giving orders. She could not understand what kind of power stood behind me. She hung up the phone and bowed deeply. Wang Xuan and Zhang Yuan watched from behind, frozen. Mr. Ah Chen, she said, sweat on her face, I will prepare our finest seat for you immediately. I nodded once. That was all she needed. Wang Xuan shot to his feet. What is going on? He shouted. These 2 nobodies deserve your best seat. I looked at him with a half smile. I was starting to enjoy this. Because I own this restaurant, I said. That is enough. The system had already shown me the numbers during our fight. Data glowed in the corner of my eye. Wang Xuan stared at me, his whole body stiff. Sweat ran down his face. 92% of this company belongs to my family, I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. The other 8% was given as rewards to people who helped build the business. Wang Xuan pointed at the business license hanging on the wall. You are dreaming, he screamed. That is not your name on there. Manager Bai looked shaken. She knew that name on the license, and she was starting to understand the connection. Manager Bai, I said, please throw these 2 out. They are banned from every location, permanently. Wang Xuan tried to push past the guards. The owner had told Bai to do whatever I asked, so she gave the order without a second thought. Zhang Yuan held her bag against her chest. If they got thrown out in front of all these people, they would never live it down. I leaned back in my seat and crossed my legs. A small, peaceful smile. Wang Xuan stood tall and puffed his chest out, trying to look in control. Do you still want to run a business? He yelled at the staff. Kicking out paying customers. This is the first time I have ever heard of a restaurant throwing out its own guests, he shouted. While he was yelling, a waiter quietly walked up to Manager Bai. He whispered something in her ear about the earlier fight. Manager Bai listened and smiled. The truth was on our side. Wang Xuan had started everything. If you have any complaints, she told him sweetly, you are welcome to report us to the authorities. Wang Xuan's face twisted. He knew he was wrong. He just could not admit it. He was a rich kid, sure, but his father was only a small shareholder in some company. His family name carried no real weight. Not in a place like this. He sat there grinding his teeth, his fists pressed hard on the table. I picked up a spoon and grinned at him. Are you angry? I asked. I know you have money, Wang Xuan said through clenched teeth. But what can you actually do to me? Every muscle in his body was screaming to throw another punch. But he remembered how I had crushed his hand, and the 2 security guards were still right there, watching. He lowered his head. He had no choice but to swallow his pride. I took a slow sip from my cup. I was not done yet. Not just this store, I told him. Every single location in the entire chain is mine. Wang Xuan's mouth fell open. If you want to buy this restaurant, I said, standing up, you would have to buy the whole group first. He did not know the exact number, but he knew a publicly listed company was worth more than his entire family could dream of. He buried his face in his hands. He had nothing left. I raised my hand and waved. Manager Bai, I leave the rest to you. Then I followed a server through the restaurant toward the private VIP area in the back. I did not look back. There was nothing behind me worth seeing. Even while kicking people out, Manager Bai kept her professional smile. No wonder this group had grown so big. The other guests had already started whispering at their tables. That kid thought he was tough, one man said with a laugh. He picked the wrong fight. Zhang Yuan heard every word. Her face went pale. Wang Xuan could not take one more second. His ears were red. His jaw was tight. He stormed out of the restaurant without a word, leaving Zhang Yuan behind. The whole room watched him go. Zhang Yuan did not dare say anything. She lowered her head and hurried after him, the eyes of every guest following her out. Outside in the parking area, Wang Xuan's fist was squeezed so tight his knuckles cracked. He had nowhere to put all that rage. It was eating him alive. So he turned it on Zhang Yuan. She stood in front of him, tears already falling. I did not know it would turn out like this, she said quietly. When he was with me, he used to work part-time jobs just to buy me gifts. Wang Xuan's fist tightened at his side. That only made it worse. I never knew his family had this kind of money, she whispered, tears streaming down her face. The two of them stood in the dark parking area, staring at each other with nothing useful to say. Wang Xuan had never been made a fool of like this. Not once in his whole life. He slammed his fists onto the hood of his car. He swore he would make Chen pay, but Zhang Yan grabbed his arm. She begged him not to do anything crazy. Meanwhile, I was already in the VIP room, flipping through the menu. 2 medium steaks, I said. Add the shrimp and a plate of foie gras. Chen Kai sat across from me looking completely lost. This room was fancier than anything he had ever seen. I knew he would be too shy to order from a menu like this, so I ordered for both of us. The private room was huge. Gold frames on the walls, crystal on the table, a waiter standing ready. The waiter bowed low. We will bring everything as fast as possible, sir. Chen Kai grabbed his head with both hands. 3 years, he said. 3 years sitting next to you in class. I had no idea. I leaned on my hand and smiled at him. You even borrowed money from me once, he said, pointing his finger at me. I gently pushed his hand back down. I pushed Chen Kai back down onto the couch before he could get any louder. I only found out about all this recently myself, I said. Chen Kai stared at me like I had just told him the sky was green. I smiled and kept going. Think about it. For 3 years, the only thing I owned was a bicycle. He leaned forward, eyes wide. But that long and nobody noticed? He looked across the huge table at me. So how much money does your family actually have? You probably will not believe this, I said, but I do not even know the full number myself. Chen Kai's jaw dropped. What about that Jiangnan villa? How much is it per square meter? At least 60,000, he guessed. I shook my head. I held up all 10 fingers and let him do the math. Chen Kai almost slammed his hands on the table. His fist was tight against his leg. The number was too big for him to accept. 150,000 per square meter, he shouted. That is impossible. Back in my hometown, that could buy a whole house, he said. I looked at him and felt a little bad. I did not want to keep hurting his confidence, so I changed the subject. His eyes went wide. I could tell his brain was still trying to catch up. When you have time, I will bring you and the others to my place, I said. Then you will see for yourself. I did not mention that any single painting on our walls was worth more than a whole building. Chen Kai gave me a half smile. We promised each other 3 years ago, remember? I cannot help everyone, I said, holding my glass, but my real brothers I will always support. We touched our glasses together. If any of you want to start a business, I said, looking straight at him, just tell me. Chen Kai held his glass and blinked. You mean that? I was waiting for you to say that, he said, suddenly full of energy. We already have a game idea. If we can finish it, it will be huge, he said. That caught my attention. I rested my chin on my hand and listened. In our dorm, I am the only one studying something different, I said. The other 3 all study computer science, Chen Kai said with a proud look. I tilted my head slightly, and they love games more than anything. But then he let out a heavy breath. The problem is we do not have money to build the servers. And we do not have enough people, he added, so we had to give up. I listened quietly, then an idea hit me. I leaned back on the couch. What if I invest 10 million? Would that be enough? Chen Kai spit out his drink. 10 million, just like that. I looked at him calmly. Who would not take that deal? Not enough? I said. How about 100 million then? Chen Kai choked even harder. He grabbed a napkin and coughed. How rich is your family, really? He stared at me with sweat on his face. But you did not even look at our plan. Are you not afraid we will waste your money? I sat across from him, relaxed. Are you not afraid you might lose it all? He asked. I looked at him steadily. A few tens of millions, I said, leaning back. That is nothing. You are my brother. If it fails, it fails. Chen Kai had nothing to say to that. He just sat there, speechless. So rich people just throw money around like this, he said quietly. Lose a few millions and just say it is fine? I narrowed my eyes and got serious. Get your materials ready, I told him. I will have my assistant meet with your team. Chen Kai nodded slowly. If there are no problems, the money will come right away? Right away, I said. But let me be clear about one thing. I only put in the money. Everything else is on you. Chen Kai grinned and pumped his fist. As long as we have money, nothing can stop us. The two of us kept talking, and the more we talked, the more excited we got. Chen Kai made up his mind right there. He was dropping his plan for graduate school. He was going to put everything he had into this. We leaned toward each other, already planning the first step. After we finished eating, I headed home. The moment I walked through the front door of the villa, my phone rang. A call from someone I had not spoken to in a long time. I looked at the screen. It was Zhang Yi, my old classmate from high school. He had barely called me since we graduated. I sat down on the couch and picked up. Hearing his voice took me back. It felt like high school all over again. Our school anniversary is in 2 weeks, he said on screen. Our teacher wants us to come back and visit. I listened carefully. It had been a while since I last saw any of them. That actually made me happy. I sat there in the grand hall of my villa, smiling at the idea. It has been so long since we all got together, I said. I will be there. But then Jiang Yi's face turned serious on the screen. Do not forget, he warned. Some of our classmates will come back just to show off. I smiled at that. I will be ready, I said. Right then, the system appeared in front of me. A new task, stand out at the school celebration. The reward, an item lost by my ancestors long ago. I read the details and the corner of my mouth went up. Some of those old classmates were going to show up and act big. I already knew it. And I was going to shut every one of them down. I stood in the doorway, the sunset behind me. This was going to be fun. But before the reunion, I got another surprise. I learned that my family had a connection with British royalty. And because of that connection, they had sent someone to see me. A man named Harem. He was apparently a top designer. No wonder my family could get someone like him to come all this way. Harem walked toward me with a warm smile and an open hand. At his age, he had not wanted to travel this far, but £5 million a year and a private plane changed his mind. All he had to do was train a few students each year. And if he could change his citizenship, he was even willing to become my personal designer full-time. We sat across from each other in the living room. The space between us was massive. "Long time no see," he said. "Last time I saw you, you were still a baby." That one sentence told me a lot. He had known my family for years. "Mr. Harem," I said, "you also designed clothes for my parents, did you not?" He nodded quickly and smiled. "That was a very long time ago. Your father wanted you to live a normal life," he said, his smile gentle. "So he kept everything hidden for many years," Harem continued, gesturing with one hand. "But now he has given you everything he owns." I took that in quietly. "So I was invited to come and pay my respects," Harem said with a polite nod. "No need to be so formal," I told him. "If we are counting history, you are practically family." But then his next words caught me off guard. "The queen would like to invite you," he said, "to visit the palace whenever you are free." I nodded calmly. At least, I tried to look calm. On the outside, not a single muscle moved. Cool and steady. On the inside, my heart was pounding so hard I could hear it. An invitation from the queen herself. How many people in this world could say that? Harem pulled out a measuring tape and got to work. He measured my shoulders, my arms, my chest. Every number went into his memory. And he asked about the styles I liked. When I mentioned the school reunion in 2 weeks, his eyes lit up. When I told Harem about the school reunion, he promised right away to have everything ready. 2 weeks is more than enough, he said with a confident smile. "I will make you something perfect." We shook hands, and just like that, the deal was done. Harem walked through the grand hallway, already heading to his workshop. But then Zhuang Ying stepped forward with a look that said she had an idea. "You could donate to the school under your own name," she said. "That is the fastest way to become a famous alumni." I put my hand over my face. Why had I not thought of that myself? She was right. Schools only care about 2 things from their alumni: how much influence they have and what benefits they can bring. I turned around to face her. "How much cash do I have available right now?" I asked. "I only manage a small part of your total wealth," she said. "But across every bank account you have, here and abroad, your available cash is around $500 billion. My mouth fell open. I thought I heard her wrong. I asked her to say it again. She repeated every word. The number did not change. Slowly, my brain started working again. I sank back into the couch. The world's richest person had maybe $100 billion in total, and that is only their fixed assets, Zhuang Ying added, not their spending money. My cash alone was more than 4 times their entire fortune. Then I noticed something. She had said she only managed a part of my wealth. "What about the rest?" I asked. "Your family's wealth is split into 7 parts," she said. 7 powerful organizations manage it all on your behalf, and our family handles the smallest piece. I could barely think straight. I stood up and walked straight to the balcony. I needed fresh air. I looked up at the sky and pressed my lips together to keep from laughing. Now I understood why my parents made me live like an ordinary person for so long. They wanted to shape who I was before giving me everything. I walked back inside with a calm smile on my face. There on my desk sat an invitation letter from my old high school. I stared at it for a moment. The school anniversary was coming soon. I grabbed my phone and called the principal's office directly. At second high, the principal, Zhu Min, sat behind his desk with his head low. His office was big but quiet. The shelves full of trophies felt like a bad joke. He stared at this year's exam results. Same story as always. He pressed his fist down on the papers. Always second place. Never first. He rubbed his forehead. First high school was always one step ahead of them. And lately, things had gotten even worse. Third high had just gotten a famous alumni who donated 10 million to their school. That money was helping them grow fast. Zhu Min's school was falling behind. Second place was about to become third. The thought made his stomach turn. Then the phone on his desk started ringing. He reached for it. I told him I was calling about the upcoming school anniversary. Zhu Min sighed quietly. He had already taken dozens of calls like this one today. "Does the school accept donations from students?" I asked. "Student donations," I repeated, making sure he understood. After a few questions, Zhu Min figured out the caller graduated in 2016 and was still in college. A third-year student. He clearly did not expect much. He smiled politely. "A young man with no real money," he thought. "Just give what you can afford," he said warmly. "Tell me the number." I smiled to myself. "About the amount," I said. The principal laughed. "Any kind of donation is welcome," he said happily. "Then let me start with 10 buildings," I said. Zhu Min stopped mid-breath. His hand tightened on the phone. He jumped to his feet. Had he heard that correctly? Then he sat back down and closed his eyes. He decided I must be joking. "I plan to give 100 million, I said. "New classrooms, new labs, and better equipment for the whole school." I kept my voice calm. "Is all of that true?" Zhu Min asked. His voice was careful now. Even the head of a large company would think twice about that number. Giving 100 million in one move was not something most people in the world would ever do. "Of course it is true," I said with a grin. "Have I ever lied to you?" I pulled the phone away from my ear and smiled. On the other end, Zhu Min thought about it. He remembered this student well. The boy was always causing trouble back in school. But one thing was certain, he never lied. Still, I could sense he was not fully convinced. "How about this?" I said. "I will send the money to the school's account right now." I hung up and opened the system. The blue screen appeared in front of me. "Transfer 100 million to my high school's bank account," I told it. I did not even know the school's account number, but that was never a problem for the system. The glowing orb pulsed on my desk. "No problem," it said. 10 minutes at most. I nodded. Fast as always. 100 million used to feel like all the money in the world, but compared to hundreds of billions, it was barely a drop of water. The bank interest alone on my accounts was more than that every single year. Back at the school, Zhu Min slowly set the phone down. He sat in his chair and stared at nothing. His mind was completely blank. Was the boy telling the truth or was this all a joke? Then less than 5 minutes later, the phone rang again. It was the finance office. The finance director's voice was shaking as he spoke. 100 million just appeared in the school account, he said. Zoomin froze. He took a deep breath. Where did it come from? He asked, keeping his voice steady. We confirmed with the bank, the director replied. It came from a private account, but the bank will not tell us who sent it. Zoomin gripped the phone tighter. His breathing grew fast. He leaned forward in his chair. I know who sent it, Zoomin whispered. He could hardly believe his own words. The money was real. It arrived exactly when the boy said it would. Who is it? The finance director asked. Zoomin sat up straight. Suddenly his voice was full of pride. One of our own graduates, he said. Come to my office right now, he ordered. We need to plan how to use every cent. He leaned over his desk, eyes burning with new life. This time, we are going to beat first high. I called Zoomin's office the moment I knew the money had arrived. On the other end, Zoomin grabbed the phone so hard his knuckles went white. His eyes were wet behind his glasses. The old man was fighting back tears. With this money, the school can finally grow stronger, he said, his voice cracking. Before we get too excited, let's talk about how to spend it, I said. I was thinking we use half to build a new classroom building and a new lab. I started, but he cut me off before I could finish. Do you even know how big our school is? He asked. We only have 4 buildings. You cannot build 10 at once. There is no room. He waved his hand like I could see it. I laughed. Fair enough. I had not really thought about the details. I trust you, I said. You know the school better than anyone. You decide. Zoomin wiped his eyes. The tears were already falling. He steadied his voice. First, I will add 1 teaching building and 1 lab, he said. Then I will upgrade all the old equipment, everything that is broken or outdated. And the very first thing, he said firmly, is replacing every air conditioner for those kids. I punched the sofa before I even realized it. That should have been done years ago, I said through my teeth. 3 summers of heat and broken classrooms. Replacing those air conditioners had been my dream since high school. Zoomin went on. With another part of the money, he said, I plan to bring in some of the best teachers from across the province. And I want to set up a scholarship fund, he added, to support the best students from poor families. I nodded even though he could not see me. Every part of his plan made sense. The man knew exactly what the school needed. You have thought of everything, I said, leaning back into the sofa. Zoomin pressed his lips together, holding back his feelings. About the scholarship fund, he said carefully. I would like to name it after you. That felt odd. Putting my own name on a fund I created seemed like too much. No need, I said. Think of this as just the first donation. Other graduates might want to give money later. The name should belong to everyone. Call it the Children of the Ocean Fund, I said. Then I will follow your choice, Zoomin agreed. On behalf of every teacher and student at our school, he said quietly, thank you. I rubbed the back of my neck. I never knew how to handle that kind of thing. I grew up in that school, I said. Helping it is just what I should do, and I meant it. That place was my home for 3 years. Then Zoomin went quiet. Something had just crossed his mind. How could a college student have this kind of money? This money, he said slowly. You did not get it from anything illegal, did you? I only found out recently myself, I said, keeping it relaxed. My parents went traveling abroad. They handed the entire family business over to me. Zoomin let out a relieved laugh. I had no idea your family was this powerful, he said. But moving this much money all at once, he added, will it not hurt the business? Do not worry about that, I said, waving it off. This amount of money for my family is not even worth counting. And if 100 million is not enough, I added, just tell me and I will send more. After that, I left everything to Zoomin and his team. My only job was paying, planning, building, hiring new teachers. All of that was their work, not mine. And even if something went wrong along the way, it would not matter. Not with the money I had now. Night came. I sat at my desk and opened a live stream, same as always. But what I saw on the screen nearly knocked me out of my chair. My account, the one that had sent 10 million in gifts, now had over 1 million followers. Notifications poured in from every direction. The screen could barely keep up. I opened my private messages. Tens of thousands of them sat there waiting. Every other message was either someone asking to date me or someone begging for my attention. I closed the messages and looked at the machine itself. This is a nice computer, I said. I was impressed. All-in-one PCs had gotten really good these days. I ran my fingers along the edge of the screen. That was when the system decided to correct me. Which I told you this is an all-in-one, it asked. I turned back to the screen. A blue display lit up the monitor. Underneath this villa, the system said, there is a small supercomputer. I stared at it. A supercomputer. Right below my feet. The graphics card alone is worth 80 million, it added. My jaw nearly hit the desk. That kind of machine was made for governments, for defense and science programs. And here I was, using it to watch streams and play video games. Right then, the streamer I was watching asked if I wanted to join a ranked match. His team needed one more. I agreed without thinking. I had nothing else to do tonight, and it hit me. I did not even have an account on his server. So I typed a message in the live chat, asking if anyone could lend me one. I will not borrow for free, I wrote. Just send the account to the streamer. The chat exploded. Everyone wanted to be the one I picked. The streamer's whole team was master rank or higher. I was about to play with the best. Within seconds, someone sent me a master level account. I logged in right away. Then I topped up 100,000 yuan on the borrowed account without thinking twice, and bought every single skin in the store. All of them. The chat lost its mind. Messages were flying so fast the screen could barely hold them. Who got this lucky? The viewers kept typing. Next time, warn us before you borrow. I smiled. That account owner just got the deal of a lifetime. The streamer spoke up. Let me introduce everyone, he said. They were all professional players back in the day, all retired now. I placed my hands on the keyboard and mouse. Time to play. I connected my microphone and said hello. Everyone sounded relaxed and friendly. The first match started. Thousands of people were watching live. My skills were not terrible. I could hold my own in most games, but compared to retired professionals, I was clearly the weakest on the team. Luckily, one teammate kept shutting down my opponent in the middle lane, over and over. By the end, all 4 of them were feeding me kills. They wanted me to look good. 5 kills in a row. A pentakill. I leaned back in my chair and could not stop grinning. The viewers were already guessing. Boss Lou is about to leave, someone typed. Others joked about forming a fan club to follow me from stream to stream. Then someone mentioned a girl streamer named Xing Yu. Her name kept showing up in the chat. In 3 days, the streamer told me, there is a big live stream convention in the city. Come check it out if you are free, he said. Sounds good to me, I replied. We agreed to meet at the convention in 3 days. Later that night, I found Xing Yu's stream. She was live, sitting in front of her camera, and she was going to the convention too. My mood got a whole lot better all at once. I wanted to see what she looked like in person. 3 days suddenly felt very far away. After chatting with her stream for a few more minutes, I got ready for bed. But just as I stood up, something hit me. The system still owed me a reward for my last mission. The system had called it trash that my ancestors did not want. That sounded bad, but I had a strong feeling it would still be something incredible. I brought it up, and the system answered right away. Took you long enough to remember, it said. The 99th host left a message about you. A glowing display appeared beside me. He said you always forget things, and if I ever get the chance, I should teach you a lesson. I stood still. My own ancestor had asked the system to scold me. I buried my face in my hands. If it was my old man's orders, I could not blame the system. The moment I finished that thought, something changed. A small space opened inside my mind and my eyes started to glow. I looked around inside it for a while and realized the space was completely separate from everything else. What exactly is this thing? I asked. A portable space, the system explained, built using advanced space science, but right now you can only use about 1 cubic meter of it. I took a sharp breath. 1 cubic meter. That was tiny. But even so, a faint glow appeared on the surface in front of me. The space was real. 1 cubic meter was small, but it could already be useful for many things. I smiled. Inside the space, floating in the darkness, sat a small white porcelain vase. Is this some kind of antique? I asked. A strong smell of herbs was already reaching me. I picked up the vase and held it close to my nose. The scent of dried plants was thick and clear. I poured out the contents. 5 small black pills rolled into my palm. Those are not ordinary things, the system said. The display lit up again beside me. The 15th host once tried to make a pill to live forever. He made it for the first emperor of China. These pills were the failed results. He was going to throw them away, but I kept them. I stared at the system, completely lost for words. Failed pills from thousands of years ago. Hold on, I said. My family has a connection to the first emperor? The system's glow got brighter as it continued. The 15th host studied pill making under my guidance for many years. A glowing image of the vase appeared, with golden pills floating above it. He became a true master, the system said. Even these failed pills can add 10 or 20 extra years to a person's life. I leaned toward the vase with a wide grin. A wave of pride hit me out of nowhere. So what do these 5 trash pills actually do? I asked. Can they really make people live longer? No, the system said. A crack pill appeared on the display. They are failed products. That part is beyond them. But as long as the person is not missing an arm or a leg, it went on. They can cure almost any sickness, including cancer, including AIDS. My jaw dropped. I grabbed my own head with both hands. The things I had been learning lately were just too much. I had lost count of how many times something left me speechless. If these 5 pills ever reached the medical world, they would shock everyone on the planet. And all of this was just leftover trash my ancestors did not even want. Could there be anything more wasteful in this world? But then I smiled. Compared to my ancestors, I was living a very careful and simple life. Even the things they threw away had this kind of power. What kind of treasure would the next mission reward bring? I wanted to find out. The next mission could not come fast enough. The next morning, the highway looked like a parking lot. I sat in my car with my eyes shut, stuck in traffic from the moment I left home. I had badly underestimated how popular the livestream convention was. Fans from every city in the country had come, all heading the same direction. All of them just wanted to see their favorite streamers face to face. I squeezed my eyes shut. The traffic was not going to get better anytime soon, so I called Teacher Pooh and told him to go inside the convention without me. Normally, making him wait a little would not be a problem. But today was different. Today he was supposed to meet with someone important, Wang Zong. His father Wang Lin was not exactly the richest man in the country, but he was easily in the top 3. No problem, I told Teacher Pooh on the phone. I will see you there soon. Wang Zong, the son of one of China's 3 richest men. I knew who he was. He got famous online because of one sentence. When I make friends, I only care about one thing, whether they have money. And they definitely do not have more than me. That one line made him an instant internet star. And now Teacher Pooh had set up a meeting with him. I looked ahead. The line of cars stretched as far as I could see. I shifted in my seat. I had been holding it in for hours. This was getting painful. If only I had a plane, I muttered, leaning my head back. The system's display lit up right beside me. You do have a private helicopter, it said. It is parked at the airport, ready anytime. I turned my head so fast I almost hurt my neck. My eyes went wide. A private helicopter, just sitting there, waiting for me. Then I remembered. My family's fresh seafood and beef were all delivered by private aircraft. Owning a helicopter was probably nothing special for a family like mine. Without wasting another second, I reached for the phone on the console. I dialed Zhuang Ying. She picked up right away. There is an accident ahead, I told her. I have not moved in hours. That is it? Zhuang Ying said, as if it was nothing. That is a small thing. Your private helicopter is always on standby at the airport. It can reach your location in 20 minutes, she said. 20 minutes, that was all it would take. I pushed my seat all the way back and closed my eyes. Being rich was wonderful. Soon I would leave this terrible highway behind. Less than 20 minutes later, a deep roar shook the sky. A huge black helicopter came down through the clouds. The wind hit the highway like a storm. People on foot stumbled and grabbed onto anything they could. I stared up through my window. That thing was enormous. I had expected a small helicopter. This one was closer to the size of a military transport. The wind shook every car around me. I gripped the steering wheel just to keep steady. I could feel the vibration in my chest. The whole car was shaking. The system's display appeared again. Let me explain, it said. This helicopter was built from a retired military aircraft. I stared at the screen with my mouth open. Your father bought it a few years ago for $120 million. I fell back against my seat. $120 million. Not yuan. My father's way of spending was on a completely different level from mine. All around me, every driver on the road had frozen in place. I could see their faces through the windows. They were all thinking the same thing. Why was a helicopter landing on the highway? One driver pressed his face against the glass. He had probably never seen anything this big. Is someone hurt up there? Do they need a hospital? That was likely what all of them were guessing. Then a rope ladder dropped from the helicopter and swung right above my car. 4 men in black masks climbed down, one after another, fast and clean. Each one carried thick ropes and straps. They moved straight toward my Porsche. They crouched around the wheels and locked the straps into place. Then they tied everything off with heavy cables and climbed back up at full speed. Before I could even think, the helicopter took off. The cables pulled tight and my Porsche rose off the highway like it weighed nothing. I looked out the window. The city was already far below me. One thought kept running through my mind. What if the ropes break? If I fell from this height, there would be nothing left of me. The system screen appeared beside me. Do not worry, it said. This helicopter can lift a tank. Anything under 10 tons will not break the cables. I heard the words, but my body did not believe them. My heart was still beating way too fast. Still, the ride was smooth, and we flew straight toward the Livestream Expo. The helicopter carried my car high above the city like it was carrying a toy. Along the way, people on the streets stopped and stared up at us. They pointed their phones at the sky and started recording. Within minutes, the video was everywhere online, trending on every platform. The headline was simple: Porsche owner calls helicopter to escape traffic on the bridge. Below, thousands of cars still sat trapped on the bridge, going nowhere. One driver leaned out his window, mouth open, watching us fly past. The helicopter was just too big to miss, dragging a car between the buildings. On every street it passed, people gathered and looked up. Everyone had their phone out, taking pictures and recording videos. Something like this might never happen again in their entire lives. Meanwhile, inside the expo hall, Piao and his old team members were already waiting, but one person among them stood out from the rest: Wang Zong, an internet celebrity whose biggest label was rich and proud of it. He liked attention, and he had the money to back it up. He did not mind the reputation one bit. Then a trending video popped up on Wang Zong's phone. The screen showed a Porsche hanging from a massive helicopter in the sky. A scene like this would look too crazy even for a movie. Piao grabbed the phone right out of Wang Zong's hand. He replayed the video several times, checking if it was real. This is unbelievable, Piao muttered under his breath. Wang Zong shook his head slowly. I thought I was the flashiest person around. Turns out there is someone even more flashy than me. Stuck in traffic, so they just called a helicopter? A Porsche only cost about $1,000,000 yuan. That is nothing compared to the helicopter, Piao replied. Then a thought hit him. Could this be from one of those helicopter rental apps? I heard they offer private flights. The price is high, but the service exists. Wang Zong shook his head again. Not possible. Piao waited for him to explain. 3 years ago, my father took me to a private auction in America, Wang Zong said. I saw that exact helicopter. It was built from a retired military aircraft. It sold for $120 million, he continued. An unknown buyer from our country took it home. Your father did not try to buy it, Piao asked. Of course he did, Wang Zong said. But the man who bought it was too powerful. When he raised his hand, nobody dared to offer more. That was hard for Piao to believe. The Rothschilds, the Morgans, every major family was afraid of that buyer, Wang Zong said. Even now, years later, he still thought about that mysterious figure in the VIP room. So you are saying, Piao said slowly, the person in that car might be connected to that man? Wang Zong gave a small nod. Almost certainly. If I ever get the chance, I want to meet whoever owns that helicopter. Piao looked at him and said nothing. He wanted the same thing. Just then, someone by the window pointed outside and shouted, the helicopter is coming this way. Wang Zong's expression changed in an instant. A dark shadow moved across the ground outside the glass. The car owner's identity was too important to ignore. Everyone, get to the entrance, Wang Zong told the people around him. The roar of the engine filled the air above the expo. On the ground below, hundreds of people had already formed a huge circle. I looked down through the window and felt my stomach drop. There were too many people. At least a few hundred were staring up at me from below. I pressed my hands over my face. The second I stepped out, every phone would be pointed at me. The tires finally hit the ground. This entrance of mine was ridiculous. The 4 masked men dropped down from the helicopter once more. They pulled the hooks and straps off my wheels with quick hands. In seconds, every rope was off the car. Then they climbed back up into the helicopter without a single word. The helicopter rose and disappeared behind the clouds. And just like that, my Porsche sat alone in the middle of the plaza like a prize on display. The crowd pushed in from every direction, mouths open, phones raised. I could not even open my door, so I grabbed my phone and called Piao. Where are you? I said. You need to come get me out of here. On the other end, Piao sounded completely confused. You are already here, he asked. Where exactly? My helicopter dropped me right at the entrance, I said. "Please clear the crowd." There was a long pause on the line. Then Piao took a deep breath. "That is your car," he said, nearly yelling. "That Porsche's yours?" He had never connected me to the car from the viral video. He probably still thought I was stuck somewhere on the highway. Wang Zong watched Piao's shocked face and frowned. "Who is that?" he asked. "Remember the person I wanted to introduce you to," Piao said. "A streamer who has been getting popular on the platform lately." Wang Zong gave a lazy nod. He was not very interested. Streaming platforms were full of rich people these days. He did not need to be friends with all of them. Maybe this one was just some lucky nobody who got rich too fast. Then Piao pointed at the Porsche outside. "He is sitting in that car right now." That car. The $120 million helicopter had just carried across the city. Wang Zong's calm face finally cracked. The owner of that helicopter was someone even his father had to show respect to. This was not just a rich person. This was on a completely different level. "He just called me," Piao explained. "He needs our help clearing the crowd." A smile spread across Wang Zong's face. "Made such a big entrance, and now he needs us to save him." He said it like a joke, but his feet were already moving toward the door. Wang Zong pulled out his phone and called security right away. Within minutes, a team of guards arrived and started pushing back the crowd. As soon as the people cleared, I drove straight into the underground garage. I checked around to make sure nobody had followed me down. Then I stepped out of the car and let out a long breath. This Porsche was finished. After today, I could never drive it again. I found a corner in the garage and called Zhuang Ying, keeping my voice low. "That car is probably all over the internet by now," I said. "I need a new one." On the other end, Zhuang Ying laughed so hard I could hear the wrinkles forming. She told me there were small helicopters at the city airport too, but I had chosen the biggest one on purpose. If she ever found out why, she would kill me. Still, she said she would send me a car right away. Apparently, I had private stores all over the city with cars waiting in storage. Every brand, every model, ready to go whenever I needed one. "Send me a Maserati," I said. The 438. That car had been my dream since I was a kid. Back when I had nothing, owning a Maserati was my one small goal. With that settled, I walked toward the garage exit. Outside, the streets were full of people heading to the expo. A few of them looked at me as I walked past, but all they saw was a kid in a cheap shirt. Nobody connected me to the mystery man from the helicopter. That suited me just fine. I called Piao again as I walked toward the plaza. He told me they were waiting near the entrance, right where I had landed. I started running. I spotted them near the entrance within a few minutes. I recognized Piao and Wang Zong right away. Piao stared at me like he had seen the wrong person. I looked too young. That was the problem. He had expected someone in their 30s or 40s at least. "I am 20 years old," I said. "I study at Zhengnan University." Piao had not even recovered from the shock before he started introducing the others. "This is Wang Zong," he said, gesturing to the man beside him. Wang Zong smiled at me. We had played games together online a few days ago. This was my first time seeing him in person though. He seemed relaxed, normal, even, not as stiff as most rich people. Wang Zong raised a hand and greeted me warmly. "Never thought our country was hiding a young man this rich," he said with a grin. Then his eyes sharpened. "Let me ask you something. That helicopter, would you sell it?" "I will pay $150 million, he said. "You will not lose on the deal." So that was his real interest, the helicopter. But I could tell there was more behind the question. He wanted to know if that helicopter was really mine. "To be honest," Wang Zong continued, "my father and I were both at that auction." I listened quietly. "So they had tried to buy it too." "If you hadn't stepped in," he said, "we would have taken it home." I let out a small laugh. "That helicopter was bought by my father, not me. But if you really want one," I said, "that particular one is not for sale. However, my family has a military helicopter that was rebuilt into a private aircraft. If the price is right, I could think about it." Zhuang Ying had just told me about it during the phone call earlier. Apparently, my father loved turning old military helicopters into private aircraft. There were about 20 more under my name. Each one was worth over $100 million. Wang Zong's jaw dropped slightly. Piao and the others behind him looked just as stunned. We had closed a deal in under a minute. Wang Zong laughed at how easy it was. "So this is how rich people have conversations," he said, shaking his head. Then he leaned closer. "Want me to lend you a car for now? That Porsche cannot go on the road anymore." I shook my head. "No need. My assistant is already sending a new one." "That old car is done," I added. "I will never drive it again." Piao's friends stood behind us, their mouths half open. One of them muttered under his breath, "If you are not going to drive it, just give it to me." $1 million car, thrown away like an old pair of shoes. They could not wrap their heads around it. After that, Wang Zong, Piao, and I walked into the streaming expo together. Everywhere we went, people stared. My face was new to all of them. Nobody online knew what I looked like, so they just kept guessing. By noon, Wang Zong had booked a private room at a 5-star hotel nearby. It was nicer than anywhere I had eaten in my entire life. Normally they would have grabbed a quick meal, but with me here, Wang Zong wanted to make it proper. Piao looked thrilled just walking through the lobby. We all filed into a large private dining room. Once the food arrived, everyone started talking freely. They were all curious about my background. Wang Zong and Piao kept asking questions. "My family does a bit of everything," I said. "To be honest, I do not even know how many businesses we own. I only found out my family was this wealthy last week." "As for my parents," I said calmly, "they are not around anymore." Wang Zong's face changed. He thought I meant they had passed away. What I actually meant was that they were not on this planet. But I did not correct him. Both Wang Zong and Piao immediately apologized for bringing it up. I waved it off. No big deal. In my head, though, I quietly said sorry to my parents for the misunderstanding. Then Wang Zong's expression changed. He had something on his mind. "We are planning to make a movie," he said, leaning forward. "But we are short on money. Would you be interested in investing?" I raised an eyebrow. "Your family has that much money, and you still need me to fund a movie?" Wang Zong spread his hands. "The money belongs to my father, not me. He gave me some money to start with," he explained. and after that I was on my own. Everything I have now I earned myself, but I have been spending a lot lately. How much do you still need? I asked. You are going to cover it without even asking the number, he said, staring at me. He held up 5 fingers. 500 million. That is what I am short. I listened to his full plan. Wang Zong wanted to create a live-action film based on a story he loved. He had already put every last bit of his own money into it. After going through the numbers, he was still 500 million short. I did not care about the amount. Done, I said. The rest is on me. Wang Zong blinked. Then his face lit up. To be honest, I was looking forward to it too. I told Wang Zong the truth. I had been reading that novel almost every night, tucked under my blanket, staying up too late each time. So when he said he wanted to turn it into a film, I pressed my hands together. I told him I supported the idea completely, 100%. But Wang Zong looked at me with a frown. Are you serious? He asked. I held his gaze without blinking. Completely serious. 500 million is nothing to me, I said, leaning back in my chair. Teacher Piao, sitting at the other end of the table, rolled his eyes. 500 million. A normal person would not earn even 1% of that in a lifetime. Yet these two sat there and treated the number like it was nothing. Piao shook his head slowly. Only the super rich talked like that. Wang Zong was not really doubting me. He knew who my family was. Even his father Wang Lin would have to show my family respect. For all he knew, I might have been richer. Don't worry, I continued. Actors and directors, that is your part. Handle it however you want, but find the best ones. The very best that Hollywood has to offer. And if the money is not enough, just come find me. Wang Zong stared. That exact phrase was usually his to say to other people. He was always the investor, always the one making the offers. Being on the other side of those words was a strange feeling. It bothered him a little. Without another word, he reached for his phone. He typed a quick post. Someone just told me to come to them if I run out of money. The comments exploded the second he posted it. Tens of millions of followers saw it at once. It shot to number 2 on the trending list. Somewhere online, a commentator was already breaking down the story. Wang Zong's post was sitting right below the helicopter incident from that morning. The comment section was out of control. Everyone had a theory. Wang Zong pressed his hand against his face. The event staff had called the helicopter a planned show, but the internet was already picking that story apart. One popular comment said the helicopter's owner was the same person from Wang Zong's post. The trending chart kept climbing. Someone had even found a photo of us walking into the hotel together. A man in a hoodie had been hiding near the entrance with a camera. I checked the photo on my phone. The quality was terrible. My face was too blurry to recognize. That was one small relief. But the helicopter photos were perfectly clear, and people were almost certain now. The owner of that helicopter had come to meet Wang Zong. After lunch, Wang Zong said he had business to handle and could not stay longer. I stepped outside. Zhuang Ying had arranged a car for me and it was already waiting. But the second I saw it, something felt wrong. I covered my face with my hand. This was not what I ordered. I had asked for a Maserati 430. The thing parked in front of me looked nothing like one. Wang Zong walked past me toward the car and stopped dead. His eyes went wide open. You said someone was sending you a car, he said slowly. Is this it? I stood beside the car and shrugged. I did not even understand his reaction, but Wang Zong clearly knew what he was looking at. This is a Maserati MC12, he said. Only 50 were ever made. In all of China, there are only 2. He stared at the car like it might vanish any second. I know both owners, he said quietly. Neither one is named Fang. He turned to look at me, then back at the car. This was a third one. This car should not exist, he said. Just then, a man in a gray suit stepped out of a bright orange sports car parked behind us. He walked over with his hands together, polite and careful. Young Master Fang, he said, holding out a car key. Miss Zhuang asked me to deliver this to you. I took the key, still confused. This was not what I asked for. Why would Zhuang Ying send something this flashy? People on the street had already noticed. Someone was pointing a phone at us. More phones came out. The cars were drawing a crowd. The model you requested had safety problems, the man explained. It was pulled from the market. Ms. Zhuang knows you like Maserati, he added, so she had this one sent instead. I was annoyed, but the car was already here. No point in sending it back. Wang Zong stepped forward, looking more curious than ever. Where did you get this car? He asked the man. Did you buy it from some collector overseas? He ran his hand along the car window, still unable to believe it. Honestly, I have no idea, I admitted. I looked at the delivery man. Maybe he could explain. The man gave me a puzzled look. Sir, your family owns 87% of Maserati. Did you not know? Every time a new model comes out, he continued, the factory sends several cars to your garage first. They are not counted in the limited edition numbers. I blinked. That was news to me. I pressed my palm to my forehead. This was getting out of hand. How was I ever supposed to spend all this money? I had not even contacted the other 6 family businesses yet. The number would only keep growing. Wang Zong gave me a thumbs up. No words, just respect. Then he reached for his phone again. He started typing a new post, something about our dinner. Just had a meal with the biggest shareholder of Maserati. I only found out after we ate. He looked up from the screen. Today had been one surprise after another for him. Standing next to me today, Wang Zong felt small for the first time. He smiled, but behind those eyes I could see it. Compared to my family, he felt like a poor man. We said our goodbyes. He waved and headed off to his next meeting. Behind him, people in the crowd still had their phones raised. That was a problem. With a car like this parked right beside me, staying invisible was not going to happen. I quietly reached out to the system. Can you delete all the photos they took? Easy, the system answered. But do not forget, your first mission is to make your name known. Your progress has been too slow, it added. I want to open a major task for you. Will you accept? That caught me off guard. And if I fail, will there be some kind of punishment, or will you just kill me?